بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم صلوا عليه وآله وصحبه وسلم. First of all, if any of the information or the conclusion on the basis of the information I am providing you is disputable or false, then I promise that I will delete this video. I will take this video out of YouTube with an apology. That's a promise. As we know that consistently, whenever a prophet went to the previous generations, they called him mad, lunatic, chronic, melancholic, brain sick, brain diseased, crazy. But none of the prophets were either crazy, mad, lunatic, or brain sick or brain diseased. God had provided all the prophets with a perfect brain in a perfect body. Here again, Mirza Qadiani is an odd man out. He is the only claimant of prophethood who is not only handicapped but also brain sick. Throughout his life, he was carrying two inherited mental diseases. One was epilepsy and the other one was chronic melancholic. About epilepsy, Mirza Qadiani writes in Ruhani Khazain that his brother died because of the fatal effects of this disease, and he himself fears this disease so much that he prayed God to save his life. And in Siratul Mahdi, the book written by his son, his wife admits the miserable and horrible conditions of Mirza Qadiani because of the effects of epilepsy, or you say the attacks of epilepsy. The other disease he had is called chronic melancholic. If you Google this disease, you will see that all the doctors, psychiatrists, and psychologists are saying the same thing, that it is such a disease in which abnormal thoughts and abnormal ideas occur. And today, in any court of law, the testimony of a patient of chronic melancholic is easily rejected and never taken seriously, because it is such a disease in which abnormal thoughts and abnormal ideas occur. Let me read something from Siratul Mahdi by his son. He writes that Mirza Sahib was a chronic melancholic. This disease was inherited. Mirza Sahib had a real uncle. His name was Mirza Jamiat Beg. He had a son and he had a daughter. Both were suffering from this very family disease. This is a very patent Mirza family disease, chronic melancholic. His daughter, her name was Hurmat Bibi. Here let me tell you that no one wants to marry his son or his daughter to a patient of chronic melancholic. So here what happens, that his daughter, Hurmat Bibi, she got married to Mirza Sahib. Hurmat Bibi was also a patient of chronic melancholic, and Mirza Sahib also was a patient of chronic melancholic. Now, this is the case that he is the only prophet who is not only physically handicapped but mentally sick also, and he is the only prophet, clement of prophethood, who is a patient of two brain diseases, and one of the diseases called chronic melancholic. And never leave this subject. Please Google this disease and you will find the facts about this disease. Now, some of the Qadianis, almost all of them, are so ignorant and crazy in proving Mirza Qadiani a prophet, a true prophet of God, that they cross all the limits. They can even tell you that, so what? all the prophets were handicapped, na'uzubillah. So what? All the prophets were chronic, a patient of mental disease, chronic melancholic, na'uzubillah, summa na'uzubillah. And that's what his son, Mirza Bashiruddin MA, is doing in Siratul Mahdi, after admitting that his father was a patient of chronic melancholic. He further says that all the prophets, na'uzubillah, were the patients of chronic melancholic. How he proves it? That if a prophet says that I am very sad today, then he writes that, see, he was sad, it means he was a patient. Then he writes that a prophet said that if my God is not happy with me, then it is better for me to jump from the top of a mountain and take my life. And then he writes, see, he was a chronic melancholic because he was expressing his feelings in such a way. And he crossing all the limits, crossing all the limits, he comes to the point where he proves, na'uzubillah, summa na'uzubillah, that our prophet, beloved prophet Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, was also a patient of this disease. May curse of Allah be on these people who utter such a blasphemy against our prophet just to defend a handicapped and mentally sick person. Lanatullahi al-Kazibin. So in my first part, I established the fact that Mirza Qadiani is the only claimant of prophethood who is a handicapped person, and in the second part, I already established the fact that he is the only claimant of prophethood who was brain sick. And I repeat my promise that if the information I am providing you, either the information or the conclusion on the basis of this information is disputable or false, then I will delete this video. I will take this video out of YouTube with an apology. Sallu alayhi wa alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen.